Now, Manarisia woke up every morning long before the rooster crowed to greet the sun with a plan tucked under her sleeve. After the harsh reality hit her of Okerekwu's house and his stingy ways, she knew she had to take control of her own destiny. And if life was going to serve her bitter yam, she was going to add her own Maggi seasoning to the mix. And so she decided to start hustling. She couldn't bear to feed from hand to mouth like Okerekwu intended. Her new routine began with helping neighbors weed their farms for small pay. She worked with determination, the sun beating down on her skin, but never dimming the fire in her eyes. She was graceful, strong, and unstoppable. One thing about Manarisia is that once she sets her mind on something, she must get to the root of it. She worked tirelessly and she saved what was left after feeding herself and Okerekwu. After months of saving, Manarisia rented a small corner by the roadside and opened a fruit stand. She sold pineapples, mangoes, oranges, and bananas. She arranged them in a neat pile like a rainbow in the market. Her beauty and poise drew attention to her market, but her mind was very sharp and set on the goal. At the market, her neighbors admired her new hustle and respected her for it. Manarisia, you wear that smile like a queen on her throne, and you have truly conquered Okerekwu by striving to become your own person. Well done, one said. Meanwhile, Okerekwu continued his nonchalant ways. He came home late on most nights. Also, he had not changed from his ways of always bringing in workers that he paid 20 naira to help him through the night. He didn't care about Manarisia's feelings. One day, he brought one Jane home, and as they walked past, Manarisia stopped them on their tracks. And where do you think you're going to with that woman at this time of the night, Okerekwu? Woman, please, know your place. That I married you doesn't mean you will take away my freedom. This is how I enjoy myself, so please, get used to it. Manarisia could not believe her eyes. Can you imagine? It didn't stop with the fact that a whole egg like her had to work so she could eat. She also had to condone Okerekwu's constant cheating with different women right under her nose. This was the height of it. She never felt this humiliated in her life. But she didn't let it bring her down. She kept her head up and continued hustling. She decided not to waste her energy confronting and fighting with Okerekwu. She did the opposite instead. She cooked and served him appropriately, praising him and massaging his ego. My husband, please eat and be well for me. Your Gary days are over. I am here to feed you very well, she would say, rubbing his head. Oh, my wife, my wife. I never knew we would get to the point of understanding each other. You marry me so well. Thank you for the food. He would sit down and devour the food like his life depends on it. Oh, this is the best you have made so far, my beautiful wife, he would say, licking his fingers and plates in great satisfaction. Manarisia would smile proudly. Anything for you, my king. How Okerekwu had gone from soaking Gary for breakfast, lunch, and dinner to eating like a king marveled everybody. They admired Manarisia's spirit and strength and praised her for it. After eating, he would sleep like the king of all stingy men. Little did he know about the storm brewing in his kitchen. Manarisia had gone to the market one day and bought a blue bucket with a lid. This was her personal secret bucket. All she does is, every morning before leaving for her shop, she would discreetly pee into the bucket, spit inside it, and cover it carefully. She stashed it behind the kitchen door, where no one would see it. Some say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I will cook my own and make sure to serve it piping hot, Manarisia whispered to herself one day as she was stirring the pot with the secret ingredients. With a mischievous smile on her face, Okerekwu played the wrong woman. She would do this repeatedly for 7 days, leaving the pea to ferment very, very well. Then she would mix the bucket's contents into the stew she prepared for Okerekwu. Then stand and watch as the tomatoes and the peppers simmered in the pot, absorbing the special flavor she added with care. When Okerekwu arrived home, his tired face would light up as the aroma greeted him. "My wife, what magic is this? This stew, it tastes like the gods themselves cooked it," he would say, licking his lips and praising the meal lavishly. Manarisia smiled sweetly, massaging his ego as she said, "Oh, Obim, you praise me too much. Well, it's just a little something I learned from the village women. I'm just experimenting with some new ingredients." Okerekwu would smile, devouring the food like his life depends on it. Days passed, and Okerekwu grew very fond of her cooking, praising it after every meal. "Manarisia, your food has healed my soul," he would say, feeling very happy and blessed. One afternoon, as she watched him devour the meal like a starving lion, she chuckled softly. Manarisia was patient. She smiled in his face, massaging his ego like an expert, all while weaving the threads of her plan tightly around him. She was the perfect wife, the village's pride. But behind closed doors, the game was on. And Okerekwu, her darling husband, was eating the bait, hook, line, and sinker. On one Sunday afternoon in the village, after Okerekwu had gone to tend his farm, Manarisia was walking toward the yam barn, humming softly to herself. The clay pot of water on her head balanced perfectly. She was going to collect yam that she would use and cook. She had a broom in her hand that she would use and sweep the compound. And then, thump thump, she felt something hard beneath her foot. She stopped abruptly, her heart skipping a bit like a faulty engine. "What's that?" she muttered, kneeling down and brushing away the dry leaves and dirt that covered the surface. But she was not close to seeing anything. She rushed inside and got a shovel, and she began to dig. Before long, she came across a big clay box, half buried in the earth like a secret treasure. Her eyes widened with triumph. "Oh my God, Manarisia, today is your day. What am I seeing? Wow, wow, wow." She kept singing like an ambulance. She proceeded to dig the pot out with great care and carried it to her small kitchen. She wiped off the dust on the pot, removed the heavy lid, and inside lay stacks of folded notes. I'm talking naira bills, bundled up tightly, enough to set her up for life. She held the money whose weight promised freedom. As she looked at the pot, her future flashed before her eyes in a split second. "This is my golden ticket. Hey, Manarisia, you have hit the jackpot. So this stingy man has this amount of money and a whole Manarisia, me, that was not meant to lift a finger to work for a day, has been toiling and hustling like a man. Mban, this is it. This is the moment I was born for. The soft life I was promised. This is it. Oh, God be praised." The days that followed were a delicate dance of deception. Manarisia weaved her plans carefully. By morning, she was out at the roadside, selling her fruits, smiling as bright as the sun. She greeted her customers, joked with children, and pretended everything was fine because indeed everything was fine. But inside, she was quietly preparing for her big escape. At night, she would sneak into the kitchen to pack small bundles of her clothes and her precious money. Little by little, every night, she packed and planned, waiting patiently for the right time. Okerekwu was as clueless as ever. He continued his routine of eating where he did not sow and flirting with any woman who caught his eye. Then, the unexpected happened. Okerekwu started feeling pains, sharp, stabbing aches in his stomach that made him grunt like a pig stuck in a mud hole. Manarisia, the ever-stunning actress, served him his meals with a shallow smile as usual. Little did he know that every bowl of yam and every pot of stew carried a secret ingredient from her bucket of revenge. One morning, Okerekwu groaned louder than a generator struggling to start. He was clutching his belly in pains. Oh God, this pain is excruciating. I don't understand why I am in so much pain, he told Manarisia. Manarisia feigned sympathy, rubbing his back and whispering, "Oh Bim, sorry, just drink this bitter leaf water. It will cleanse your stomach and you will be fine." Well, you guessed right. Even the local medicine she gave to Okerekwu still carried the secret ingredients. Listen, when a woman's mind is made up to deal with a cheating partner, she goes all out. That night, as the village went silent, Manarisia packed the last of her things. Her heart was pounding with the thrill of freedom. So finally, I can be myself again. I can be free from this prison of marriage. She then slipped quietly through the back door, careful not to wake Okerekwu, who was snoring like a spoiled engine. Outside the house, under the moonlight, Manarisia took a deep breath of fresh air and freedom and said, "Goodbye, Okerekwu. As for me, Manarisia, I will never miss you," she whispered and disappeared into the night. As she walked away, she imagined Okerekwu waking up, realizing his treasure was gone, his stomach aching and his pride shattered like a dropped pot. He would be scratching his head, wondering if the earth swallowed his money. She laughed softly. Freedom had never tasted so sweet. In the morning, the sun rose over the village as usual. But in Okerekwu's house, darkness rose instead of light. The man who had once been a picture of wealth and arrogance now lay on a tattered bed, holding his stomach in agony. His health had been going down steadily. The sharp pains was now more intense and more frequent. The sickness had started small, but now it was so persistent that it refused to let him be. Okerekwu had spent years avoiding spending money on even the simplest of comforts. Now, he found himself trapped in his own self-made prison. He knew it was time to go to the hospital. He didn't want to die away just like that. So, he managed to drag himself to the place where he buried the money. He knew that he could not involve Manarisia or any other person for that matter because he couldn't risk them finding out he stashed his wealth there. So, he managed to dig, his heart racing fast as he dug. He sensed someone else had been there, and this made him very scared. What if they have taken my money, my whole life? Oh my God, he lamented. But he smiled with hope when he found his big pot of clay still safe and covered in the ground. He looked around, making sure that nobody was looking. Then he pulled it. He noticed it was heavier than usual, heavier than he remembered, and he smiled. Ah, It seems the ground has multiplied my fortune. I am so lucky. So he took the clay pot happily into his room and locked the room door. He then opened the pot, and what he saw almost gave him a heart attack. He first fainted, and when he woke up and looked into the pot the second time, he fainted again. Manarisia had taken her time to fill the pot with stones tied in nylon. She wanted to make sure Okerekwu had a heart attack, so she planned her revenge very well. Okerekwu woke up this time and screamed so loudly that neighbors began to gather. He rushed to Manarisia's room to confront her, but he didn't see any evidence that even showed that someone used to live there. She had packed every needle, every pin that she owned, she packed. Okerekwu was almost losing his mind at this point. He forgot he was sick for some minutes as he mourned and cried for his money. As neighbors gathered, he shamefully narrated the incident to them, saying that Manarisia had stolen his life savings and ran away. The neighbors, instead of showing him pity, castigated him even more. So you had such money and you let that woman suffer to feed you without you contributing a pin. See, you deserve all the shege she showed you and even more. They spat, leaving him in his misery. Okerekwu was finished though. He had no money left to seek treatment and no one to turn to for help. So this is what I get for hoarding my wealth, he thought bitterly as he shook in pain, unable to even stand. The pain went through his whole body like a wave and he groaned. Why did I wait so long? Why didn't I take care of myself? Why didn't I even live a little? He looked at his shirt that was soaked with sweat and stared at the walls around him. The house was practically empty. He couldn't boast of anything he bought with his money. And now, it's all gone. It wasn't just the sickness that worried him now. It was the realization that Manarisia was gone. That she had left him in the dust, taking his money and his dignity with her. The woman who he had treated like an object, someone to use and discard, had outsmarted him. I should have treated her better. Kai, where do I start from? He muttered to himself. But it was too late now. The village outside buzzed with gossip. News of Okerekwu's downfall spread faster than wildfire. His once stellar reputation as the rich, stingy bachelor was now a punchline. The visitors couldn't resist poking fun at him. One afternoon, a group of old women gathered at the market, gossiping over a tray of egusi that they were peeling. One of them, a sharp-eyed woman named Mama Nkechi, shook her head and said, I heard Okerekwu is now dying of his own medicine. A man who had all the money but chose to live like a pauper. Sphere kwa. Another woman, Auntie Ngozi, added, if he had spent a little on a good meal instead of hoarding everything, maybe he would not be so down with sickness. They didn't pity him all. After all, they had seen him for who he truly was, selfish, arrogant, and a man who believed that his wealth could buy him everything except his happiness. Okerekwu lay on his bed, groaning as his stomach twisted. His mind wandered to the countless times he had refused to share, refused to care. He had always prided himself on his ability to live so carefully to avoid spending a single naira unless it was absolutely necessary. But now, his stinginess had come back to haunt him. His mind drifted back to his younger days. He remembered his father telling him, Okerekwu, a man who hoards his wealth is nothing but a fool. Money is not meant to be stored in the ground. It is meant to be enjoyed. It is meant to be shared, to create life, not just to sit in a box and rot. But Okerekwu had always dismissed those words as nonsense. I don't need anybody to tell me how to live, oh, he had thought. And now he was paying the heavy price. As the days passed, his condition worsened. His stomach pains became unbearable, and his body grew weaker by the hour. At this point, he could no longer get out of bed, and the villagers paid him no mind. He swallowed his pride and managed to tell someone to fetch his father for him. When Okerekwu's father came, he stood at the door, staring at his son with a mix of pity and disappointment. Okerekwu, I tried to warn you. I gave you everything, but you chose this path. Now look at you. Okerekwu could barely speak. His body was too weak to even lift his head. I didn't raise you to be like this, his father continued. You were supposed to be a man who would carry the family name with pride, who would use his wealth to help others, but instead you let your greed eat you alive. He then looked for a way to take Okerekwu to the hospital for treatments. The doctors checked him out and found out he had severe ulcer. He was given some drugs, but the drugs almost did not help with anything. He was then given a strict diet to adhere to. Okerekwu lived in severe pains all his life, with no money. He managed to sell most of his farmlands to make sure he stayed on doctors' prescribed menu. He learned the hard way that true wealth is found in generosity, humility, and love. The richest man is not the one with the most money, but the one who shares it with others and uses it to build meaningful connections. If Okerekwu had people he shared meaningful connections with, he wouldn't be all alone, sick and dying. Manarisia, on her own part, stood at the window of her fruits and vegetables shop, looking out over the busy streets of the town she now called home. She smiled to herself, watching the hustle and bustle in the market streets. This was the beginning of a new chapter, one that didn't involve deceit, manipulation, or a man who thought he could control her. She had done it. She had finally escaped Okerekwu's grip. And now, she was building something of her own. She was no longer just a beautiful woman who had relied on her looks to survive. She was a businesswoman now, financially independent and free from the chains of any man. She had also learned the bitter lesson that no man has it all, that true value wasn't found in material wealth or in control of another person. It was found within, and that nobody can love you exactly how you want to be loved, because that is your job. It is what you owe yourself. She learned the hard way. So now, she stepped up, working hard to give herself the soft life she has always desired. And if a man comes along the way, fine. It won't be about his wealth anymore. It will be based on mutual love and understanding. She had taken control of her life and had no plans of letting go. Who would have thought that a woman who once dreamed of a Prince Charming would end up ruling her own kingdoms on her own terms? Manarisia said to herself. It had been a long journey indeed, full of lessons that had tested her strength. The money she had taken from Okerekwu was a means to an end. It was a tool to get her out of a situation that had almost broken her. But now, with her own hands, she had built something far greater, which is her independence. She had no regrets about using what she needed from Okerekwu. But now, she knows that the true wealth she sought after would not come from the stolen money or the approval of men. It would only come from her hard work and her belief in herself. Moral lessons. Okay, paddies, I would like for you to tell me what you learned or what you think about this story in the comment sections below. As for me, I learned that the greatest freedom comes not from finding someone who will complete you, but from realizing that you are already whole. True love starts with self-love, and the real power is in taking control of your life and making smart, independent choices. Never let anyone, whether wealth, love, or power, dictate your worth. You are enough, just as you are. And most importantly, money is meant for chopping. If you're making money and your money is not making your life any easier, that means you're not making money. What are you living for? Enjoy your money while you can. Eat good food. Take care of yourself. Have fun. Okay? I'm not saying you shouldn't save, but don't overdo it. Save, live, and enjoy. Alright. And it's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching my video till the end. You are the real MVP paddy. Remember, don't let anyone dim your shine. Until next time, Ngwanu, bye!